There's nothing like a good therapy session when you're talking about a penultimate episode. Hello, everyone. Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did It. If you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something, you will be among the first to know. The 6th episode of the 2nd season of Last of Us is here. It is called The Price. Also, the penultimate episode, which means the next episode that comes after this is going to be the season finale. A really, really good episode. I do have a couple of things that I want to get off my chest, though, before we dive into the episode. The biggest of them is that I now see where there have become sort of a casting issue with Bella Ramsey. Bella with Pedro, fire, phenomenal. They have a chemistry, and it is off the charts. And you can see that in this episode. You can sort of see that's a little bit of what's been missing a little bit throughout this season. I think the casting folks cast her for season 1 against Pedro, not knowing or not hoping that they got a second season, but not planning on it. And then we get to the second season where she has to do a lot of the heavy lifting on her own or with different actors, or have to be a more adult, grounded, raw, broken Ellie. She can't quite get there. But everything she's doing in this episode is showing us sort of the different versions of teen angst as she grows up. She knocks that shit out of the park. And it's just sort of unfortunate that we kind of have to take the good with the bad, because she is so good with this that when we get back to the main story and we sort of see her being this raw, broken person, we're just going to have to take some of that and say, all right, well, we put in the legwork in the past to see her character grow and how she got to this point. The fact that she can't quite deliver on all the angst and anger and hatred that she has, or at least supposed to have. All right, we'll just have to accept that. The other part that I sort of have an issue with, and this is sort of a gaming to TV medium issue. In the game, we have these cutscenes and these moments of taking a breath and sort of remembering the past that happened throughout the tension that happens in Last of Us. Having an entire episode dedicated to pretty much all those cutscenes, it's edited great. Doing a year by year or year by 2 years break is great. But and it does a good job of coming off of the death or killing of Nora, which was so angry and visceral, or should have been, that you didn't have to have this sort of moment. The problem is there's only one episode left. And so on the opposite side of this moment, we got to shove in a lot into that season finale to get back high up and to end all on a solid note. I wish either there were more episodes, or we did this a little bit earlier in the season, or that they had started filming anything of season 3, because the time from when that happens to when we get season 3, and for this to be the penultimate episode going to season finale, it feels like we're sort of rushing things. That said, all of my little nitpicks aside, this episode is phenomenal. It is an emotional roller coaster, and you get to see how high Joel and Ellie were, and they were thick as thieves, and you couldn't break them apart, to the point where, like, oh no, everything is falling apart, and we see how their relationship has ended in turmoil. We begin the episode, though, back in the past when Joel was a kid with Tommy. Joel and Tommy did some typical boy stuff. They got in trouble, caused some fights, and their father is a police officer, and he hears about it, and he's a very stern man. He rules and disciplines with an iron fist. He has been physical with the boys before. We don't see it in this episode, but it is verbalized that he's been physical before, and it has been verbalized that comes down from generations before him who have given it to him. And pitch perfect casting by putting Tony Dalton, who looks like what Pedro's dad would look like. Solid. But we see how stern he is, and he sort of has a conversation with Joel to say why he is the way that he is. And he's like, this just came down from my father to me, and I am a softer man than he was to me. And I hope that you can pass on, and you will be a better father when the time comes for you to be one than I am to you. and that piece sort of comes back tail end at the very end of the episode. But it's a sort of a good way to sort of see that one, Joel is always going to protect Tommy, no matter what. He's going to protect Tommy. He's going to protect the people that he cares about. Um, to no end, even if he has to be punished for it, he's willing to do that. That piece. But two, you can sort of see some of the aggressive behaviors, some of the ways that Joel is very much an a-hole about his. He's learned that behavior, and it sort of gets passed down. I gotta point out, you sons of bitches, they put the Joel and Ellie silhouettes back in the credits again for this one final time, which sort of tugged at the heartstrings. This episode, sometimes heavy-handed, but it tugs at the heartstrings quite often. We then pick up 2 months after Joel and Ellie first arrive at Jackson. And Joel is doing everything to sort of prepare a birthday for Ellie. She's turning 15. So he's going to Seth, who's, I guess, the baker, in addition to other things, the bartender or whatnot. He's going to Seth to go get a cake made, and then asking for things to sort of refurbish and repurpose a guitar for Ellie. And he's going through the details of putting the moth things that she draws engraved into the guitar. He's dusting it off and retuning it and making a pick out of. He's doing everything he can to sort of make this a special thing for Ellie, because for him, he's living vicariously through Ellie what he could not do the years of Sarah, who died. His biological daughter, he's now doing that through Ellie. And so he's giving her the birthday that he could not give her, but doing it for her, for somebody that he actually does care about. While he's getting everything set, Tommy brings home Ellie, who is high on painkillers, but she has a burn on her arm. And we sort of see that this burn was placed there. She did this purposely. And Tommy's like, I don't know why she would do this on purpose. And in her drunken stupor or drug stupor, she tells Joel that, like, I did this because I want to wear short sleeves again. And because she has the bite arm right there, the bite right there on her arm, she currently isn't. And because if anybody sees a bite and she's just walking around normally, they're going to automatically know that, oh, this girl can't be infected. So she wants to take some control of her life. That's a little bit that we see throughout all of these year things, is her way of taking a bit of control back for her that Joel is sort of removed. And while she's still at this point naive enough and young enough to not question Joel about the decisions that were made in Salt Lake, she does it subconsciously. After sleeping the pain pills off, she comes downstairs and Joel is working on a cake that does not have her name spelled correctly, but it's her 15th. And she sees the cake and she immediately just dives in. Being a typical kid, juvenile, you can see that she's still youthful in this moment. And Bella is playing the youthful version of Ellie perfectly. Joel then delivers the guitar to her. And she's like, well, can you play something for me? And Joel's like, sure. And he plays a very beautiful, the words in this moment don't mean anything, but it's a very beautiful song that for all of the audience watching this now, knowing the fate that happens to Joel, yeah, it kicks you right in the nads. You're gonna like, oh, come on, how many times am I gonna start welting up? Oh, and you will cry, but now it's just starting to build. The tear ducts starting to build up. You're not there yet, but they're coming. We then jump ahead a year and we see the 16th birthday. And it's a cool framing of this episode where we basically build in every birthday, for the most part, sort of showing how the growth between the two of them happens and then growth grows apart. On this one is the infamous museum piece of the game that I know a lot of my gamers will know. And I've been waiting for this one to come in because it's just so wholesome. But Joel takes Ellie out on a stroll to go to this science and space museum. And they're very much still daughter and father. And it's a cool moment where Joel hilariously thinks that Ellie is flirting with and interested in Jesse. And he even says that, like, I have a keen eye for this type of thing. Clearly, he does not have a keen eye for this type of thing. But what is clear is that in this whole day, Joel has set up everything. He has gone through the museum. He has oiled up things and gotten them so that they can be in a working order so that Ellie can use them. He has dusted things off. He has opened things up. He has made a tape, a cassette of the audio of what it would be like to ride in a spaceship in the takeoff. He's found all of this. He's made this day her best day ever because, again, he is doing this vicariously because I couldn't give this to my daughter, Sarah. You are my de facto daughter now. I am doing this for you. And Ellie is in heaven, like hog heaven. She's loving it all. She's taking it up. She's still being her big kid. And as of this moment, isn't the forefront of what happened in Salt Lake isn't on her brain. She's now just being a kid and like getting to live and grow and do her life with Joel. My gamers know how many tears are shed in the entirety of this museum piece, but her putting the helmet on, her choosing her helmet, which is a big part of the game, her choosing her helmet, putting it on, and then going in there and hearing it and sort of being transported into actually taking off. It's breathtaking. It's yeah. And it's great that you get to see that they had so many good moments still before they did. As they head back after the great museum visit, Joel is kind of just like, this is nice. We should do this more. And Ellie in this moment is kind of in full agreement. She's smiling like, yeah, this is nice. We should. And they continue on and there's a pause. And Ellie looks off to the side. She just stares there for a moment. And Joe's like, what's going on? And Ellie's like, nothing. She just brushed it off. Doesn't sort of reflect on it more. But there is something clearly happening subconsciously because when we panned over to see what she was looking at, she was just staring at a bunch of fireflies moving around above a body of water. And it triggers for her the firefly incident that happened in Salt Lake. But she is so happy. She doesn't want to disappoint Joel. She's not talking about it. She's like, nope, I'm not bringing it up right now. And we move on. Move ahead another year, birthday number 17 for Ellie. And this is where things start going awry. Joel gets another cake, this time spelled correctly. He's ready to deliver. Now, this is also something that just happens with dads as they grow up. Their daughters and the way that they want to be represented for their birthdays changes. Joel doesn't have a blueprint for this. One, there's no wife there to sort of help him, aid him in there. But two, he also didn't have Sarah get to this age to sort of know what he could and shouldn't be doing. But he takes the cake and he's going to a room with the cake. And all of a sudden he hears laughing in there and sort of some other sounds. And he knocks on the door and then just comes in. And Ellie is in there with another woman, which I believe is the lead guard from the current days of Jackson. I believe you remember when Dina said, she's the only other girl that I know you could have messed with here. It's that girl. But they were fooling around. Joel sort of canvasses the lay of the room, and there's drugs there. There is a tattoo now on Ellie's arm where the burn was. She's now put a tattoo of her moth there. There are some toys there that Joel has to sort of comprehend in his head. But he gets into his dad mode. And some of the things that he's learned from his dad, he now starts sort of being aggressive and whatnot with Joel. He throws the girl out, says, you got to leave, get up out of here. And then he admonishes Ellie about all the teens, like, oh, this is what's happening. You're giving me all the teen stuff at once. Because remember, these previous years, she has been very childlike. And now she's gone full stop into being a teen. There's drugs there, there's tattoos, sex. And he sort of says, like, what are you doing? Like, you're experimenting with girls. And Ellie has to check him real quick, like, I'm not experimenting. For him, he's got to sort of accept and respond to that. He doesn't do it well. He is very clueless about Ellie's sexuality until he's not. But then he's just like, look, we'll discuss this later when you've had a time to be yourself or become who you are, which is the wrong way to say that, Joel, but he doesn't know that in the moment. But Ellie is becoming who she is, but he's not. She's no longer being the person that he knows her to be. And that's where he's sort of having a butting of heads. We then see that Ellie is planning to move out into the garage. So she's trying to like move a bed and in the middle of the night, it's pouring rain. And Joel wakes up. Actually, he's not really sleeping because he is still thinking about how poorly he handled the situation with Ellie. But, and he goes to stop her and he's like, put the bed back. Like, what are you doing right now? And to Joel's credit, teenagers we know this. We all had amazing impulses when we were younger and would just do things on a whim. Moving a bed and moving around in the middle of the night when the garage has no air, heat, or any type of insulation and is not made for someone to live in is a terrible idea. Like, Joel's not wrong. But Ellie doesn't want to hear that right now. But Joel's like, look, you're not going out in the garage right now. This is my house. Which Ellie throws back to him, this ain't your house. They gave this to you. They gave this to us. You don't own anything here, which is a hard-hitting thing that Joel has to realize. And Joel doesn't really have a response back, but you can see visually what it does to him. And Pedro nails it in that, like, I don't really have a comeback for that. I don't own any of this because the life that I did have is gone. The life that I did had with my daughter, I don't have. And so, okay, let me reassess and think about how to approach this because clearly I am pushing you away and I've already lost one daughter. I don't want to do that again. So he calms down a little bit and Ellie sort of apologizes halfway. She's like, sorry, more so that I'm sorry that you caught me doing those things, not that I'm sorry that I did them. Joel then says, all right, maybe it's best that you do have your own space. Give me a couple of days and I will go set the garage up and get it prepared for you to be able to live in. I will set up heat and I'll do all that stuff. For now, let's put the bed back. And he does. They put the bed back. And then he takes a look at the tattoo on her arm. And he's like, well, it's pretty good. Like, it's actually a really good tattoo. And she's like, well, thank you. It's like, this is one of your drawings. He's like, they did a much better job here than I did engraving on your guitar. It's like, what's with all these moths and whatnot? And she's kind of like, it comes from my books. And then he's like, oh, moth, it means like new life or new beginnings or and whatnot. And Ellie's kind of like, sure, yeah, that's what it means. Joel is just trying to find a way to connect with her, and he feels that it's loosening. So this is sort of his way of the awkward dad, like, all right, I'm trying to find some type of leeway in with my daughter. Joel then goes to see Gail, who is the town psych. Now, at this point, Gail, husband Eugene, is still alive. That's an important piece that comes in the next part of this. But he goes to see, hey, Gail, real quick, you do stuff about dreams and books and right now. Moth means like growth and new life and all that stuff. And Gail's like, no, in most books that means like death. Moths are for death. And then we sort of see when Ellie is doing her moving to move everything out of her room to the next room, we see that one of her drawings of the moth says, we see that you have a greater purpose is written on there under her moth. And so we can now put two and two together that Ellie is of the mindset that what she is doing here in life, she's sort of now at the point where I should start questioning how I got here and what Joel's saying because some of the things don't add up. I feel, and teens go through this anyway, but like, what's my point of being here? Like, what am I doing in life? Why am I here? She says you have a greater purpose on there because she's now sort of tying it all together. We then jump ahead 2 years. We skip the 18th birthday because probably got messier. We go to the 19th birthday and we open up with Ellie is practicing how she wants to talk to Joel. And at this point, it is still jovial. It is still like I'm asking my dad, like, hey, I have questions because some of the things that you've told me about the logic of what happened in Salt Lake don't make sense. You said that there were reavers or that there were other people who were infected, but if there were other people who were not able to be infected, why is there not a cure yet? Like she's starting to question these things. But she doesn't get a chance to ask her scenario because Joel comes in and is like, hey, you ready to do this? You're an adult now. You're 19. I'm going to take you out on patrol. And she's like, wait, what? And so her brain about that stuff goes away. And she's like, all right, cool. I'm going to go do patrol. And it just told her to get a gun. So then they go out and patrol on horseback. Joel has taken her to a trail that is a lot easier and a lot lighter. And so she gets a little butthurt about that. Like, well, hold on. This ain't even a real trail. You're taking me on some BS. An important piece here in parallel to how it was responded to earlier is that Joel, while they're on this, said, this is nice. Just going on a stroll with you. This is nice. And I know you got a lot of things going on in your life, but I would like to do these a little bit more often. And whereas we saw a few years earlier, she was like, yeah, that'll be great. This time, Ellie doesn't give that same jovial response. It's a lot more even keel. Her face doesn't change. She doesn't even say yeah or respond. She's kind of just like, yeah, oh, cool. Because there's a lot of angst and whatnot going on in her head. Before she could get to the point where she starts asking her questions, they receive a distress call, which Joel and Ellie go search for. Mind you, Joel tried to send Ellie back, and Ellie was like, "Nah, I'm not doing that." To the point where she does keep throwing in front of him that I'm not your daughter. Like, we're partners. I'm not your daughter. You don't get to tell me what to do. Joel doesn't see it that way, so he knows he's kind of got to take that on the chin. Like, yeah, you're not my daughter, but I do feel that daughterly piece towards you. Um, but they go down and they go check, and they find Eugene, who is Gail's husband and has just been bitten. He feels Eugene, played by Joey Pants, great, perfectly. Another moment where you get emotional as this goes along, but Eugene feels that he has some time. He said, "I have some time left. Can you guys take me back to Jackson? Leave me outside. I'll step back, but I need to go. I need to say my goodbyes to Gail." And Joe's like, "Nah, that's not possible, bruh. You know the rules. Jackson has a whole setup. We can't do that." And Ellie then says, "Well, hold on. I'm going to run a test." And so she does this test where he has to count to 10, which cognitively folks that are fully gone or on their way to being gone can't do. She's like, "Look, he's good. He's good enough. He's got time. Let's take him back." And Joel's like, "Okay." He sends Ellie to go get the horses to bring them down the ravine while he walks Eugene towards Jackson. Before she leaves, though, she's kind of like, well, "Hold on. I don't know if I should just trust you to kind of just not shoot this man in the head." So, and he's like, "Look, I promise, I'm not going to kill him." And then she goes off. She's like, "Okay, perfect." And then she goes off, and then he begins to walk Eugene. Here's where this is interesting. You can go either way with this, and it's played either way. Joel could have made a promise and meant to break it. He's done it before. He is a pathological liar, and we see how that effect happens in just a few moments. I read this as if he was going to do it, and then when Eugene got to a point where he didn't know which way Jackson was, and he's done this path multiple times, Joel started seeing that no, his cognitive functions were starting to leave already. I got to take this dude out. So instead of having him go the correct way towards Jackson, he had him go the other way where he was going to take him out. That's how it read to me. Be damned of what it means to Ellie, even though he made a promise. He is now seeing that this is changing, and now I have to sort of avert that. That's how it reads. And so he takes Eugene off to this like open beach part, and Eugene immediately knows like, oh, this, you're taking me out. And Joel was like, "All right, do me a favor. Go ahead and tell me what it is that you want me to tell Gail." And he's like, "No, it's not that I not what I want to tell her. It's what I want to hear from her. I want to see her face before I turn, before I go." Eugene's like, "I just want to see her face." And Joel says, "If you love someone, you can always see their face," which is great. Joel's spitting out poetry before he shoots him in the head. Because then the next shot, we don't actually see the gunshot. We don't actually even hear it, which is a great thing. We just pan out and then see the birds fly, which let us know that a shot went off and all these folks left. My mind immediately was like, oh crap, this is not going to go well with Ellie at all. And so Ellie comes back down with the horses and just sees Eugene dead. And at that point, Joel kind of starts making excuses, but saying like, no, he was gone. He wants to do this. And they get on the horseback and they make their way back to Jackson. They're dragging Eugene's body and saying like, Joel's like, let's radio ahead and tell them what's going on. And Joel is trying to sort of talk to Ellie to sort of, let's get our story straight. Let's have this conversation. Let's make sure that they know what's going on before we get to them. Ellie is hearing none of this. She is completely enraged. She's got tears coming down her eyes because I think at this point in her mind, Joel is a pathological liar. He can lie all the time. He lied to me about this. He also lied to me about Salt Lake City. So she just feels like Joel is no longer going to be trusted. He's an asshole and took the choice away from Eugene. And subsequently, he also took the choice away from me. And so, nah, F this dude. I don't care what he has to say. No matter how much of a father figure he may have been to me at one time, he keeps taking the choices away from people that we should give them that option first. So they make it back to Jackson. Tommy brings Gail to the gate, and Joel starts spouting out some lies. But Joel, and it's good. Like, I believe Joel for a moment. I was like, damn, did I not just see him shoot this dude? But he's telling Gail he loved you. He said that he loved you. He wanted you to know that, and that he took his own life. And then Ellie is like, no, that's bullshit. That is bullshit. And so for her, this is her moment where I'm not calling him out about the stuff that he and I have going on, but I can at least call the fact out that I'm calling you out on this lie. This one you're not getting away with, Joe. Nah, F all of that. And so she just starts yelling and it's like, nope. He had time. He had time to get here. He wanted to see your face. And Joel is the one that shot him. And then Gail slaps the crap out of Joel. And then Ellie just runs off. And Joel just stands there in shock because he has just lost his daughter. Like, in that moment, he just realized I lost her. And anything that I thought I was doing to sort of keep her in arms, keep her at arm's length, I just burned that all down. I think what's important is before she walks off, she just says, "You swore." And it's a great line reading. Bella again nails it. What Bella's doing great is the angry daughter to the dad piece of the Ella experience. I mean, the Ellie experience, what she is not getting in present day, sometimes the wrought and angriness of visceral, like carnal nature of the Ellie. I've already said how I felt about that. We then show up to 9 months later, which basically brings everything full circle, and we show the New Year's Eve dance where we're seeing it from Joel's perspective, where he just watches Ellie from afar. Like, it's a dad watching his daughter from afar, a daughter who doesn't want anything to do with him, but he is still doing the fatherly thing, and he's always kind of just like keeping an eye on her, making sure that she's good, making sure that everything that he can do from a distance is fine. We see Seth getting a little drunk and saying the derogatory term that he used towards Dina and Ellie at the very beginning, and that's when you see Joel just spring into action, just shove him, and that's when you see Ellie rip him a new one, and he kind of walks off like a puppy. And that scene holds even more weight now that you kind of see the walk away from him, and you see the exasperation from Ellie. Like, when he starts walking away, Ellie sort of kind of gives a sigh, like, I didn't want to rip my dad a new one in front of everybody. Like, I need to talk to him, and I don't know how. Like, they don't know how to communicate with each other because they build so much lies in between each other. They, being Joel, has built so many lies in between each other, and Ellie, to an extent, she's accepted these lies, that they don't know where to begin again. And then we get the sequence on the porch because that night, Ellie comes home and they have an Emmy award-winning conversation on that patio, on that porch. It's a scene that all the gamers know, and I'm glad that they didn't really change it. There's one thing that they changed, which makes for the better, but they don't really change much. They kind of deliver it as is, and Pedro and Bella are doing some heavy lifting in this. A lot of the heavy lifting to the point where, going forward, I'm going to forgive and let some of the rawness and carnalness that Bella's not giving go, because we now have the breadcrumbs of, like, no, there was a forgiveness aspect to this, and she was on her way to giving that to Joel, and then it was sort of taken away from her based on the fact that she was angry for so many years that she could have worked on that sooner. And so there's a lot of guilt that's in there too. But what happens on the porch? She comes on. They start talking about some of the chit chat of every day, about the coffee. Fine, you know how that awkward conversation starters that you're like, "Hey, where'd you get the coffee?" And then Joel brings back, like, "So you and Dina, that's a thing?" And it's not what they really want to talk about until they get into the nitty gritty of it all. Because at that point, she calls him an asshole. And he says, "You lied to me. You lied straight to my effing face." And this is where this comes back. Eugene piece plays better. Eugene scenario is not a part of the game. It works here so good in the show because it creates another time that Joel lied to her. So now that she can parallel back to the time that he was lied to her about Salt Lake. And she's like, well, now this is just the thing that you do. You just keep lying to me. And it allows her to sort of open up that door. She goes in and says that you lied to me. That same look that you gave me regarding your lie for Eugene and the one that you were giving to Gail, you gave to me. I saw it. I saw you doing it. When you lied to her, you lied. That was you again lying to me. And it just brought all this up. And she's like, I knew already. This whole time I've always known. I just didn't have the courage, the age, the wisdom to actually ask. So I'm going to tell you this one more effing time before you lose me forever. Can you tell me the truth about what happened in Salt Lake City? And like, if nothing else, there is nothing else that Joel does not want. He does not want to lose Ellie. He's lost a daughter already. He cannot do that again. He's like, all right, here's what happens. And so he doesn't actually tell her what's going on. He just nods or shakes his head. And the entire time that he's doing it, you can see that this part's rough. You can see the tears like building up in his eyes. And she asks him what happened in Salt Lake. She's like, were there other immune people? And were there raiders? She's like, no. And could they have made a cure? And he shakes his head up and down. And you could just see like just the pain because he knows what he did was wrong. And the fact that he stopped other people from being able to be cured. But she asked about Marlene, all of it just kind of has a deep effect. And then he says, making a cure would have killed you. And that's when she says it ties back to her, your life having a purpose. She's like, and then my life would have fucking mattered. Like I would have had a point. I would have had a purpose. And you took that option from me. You took that away from me. And you took it from everybody. Like you changed the world as it is. And he said, yes. And I'll pay that price. Because you're going to turn away from me. And I'm going to lose my other daughter, basically. And then this is where this becomes even harder. Joel says, but if somehow I had to do it all over again, I would. I'd do it all over again. And at that point, Ellie's kind of just like, wait, what? How? And it's the first time that happens in the series. It does not happen in the game. But Ellie says, it's because you're selfish. And then he says, because I love you. Well, any fathers to kids out there, yeah, that one was rough. He would burn the world down because I would do whatever I can for my daughter. And it's in this moment that he says, I love you, which is not a line that is in the game. It is placed here and is placed here beautifully. And it works. This is all coming from a guy who lost one daughter. He's going to do everything humanly possible to not do that again. Because he tried to do everything he could to keep Sarah, and he just wasn't good enough. He wasn't strong enough. And so the whole selfish bit comes down from lineage to lineage to lineage, all the Millers going down. But for him, there is a bit of righteousness to it because I can't lose you. I can't lose another daughter. And he tells him, like, you may never understand. You may not get it. You may not ever understand me. I understand that. But should there come a day where you have a child, I hope that it makes a little bit more sense to you. And I hope that you can do better than I was to you. Full circle moment from the piece that happens with his dad at the very beginning. Whew, I just got chills thinking about that scene. It's so brilliant. To that point that Ellie says, "Look, I don't think I can forgive you for this, but I would like to try." And you could just see the look of hope in Joel's eye, because like this whole time he was just like a broken puppy and like tears, like he knows that he just lost his daughter. But that glimpse of hope that says, like, "But I would like to try," he just kind of is like, "Wait, so you're saying we can work on this?" That's excruciating because we know what happens on the other side of this and that they never get that chance. Bravo. I am watering up now, but bravo. They all nailed that scene. We then pick up with a button of Ellie coming out of the hospital after killing Nora and making her way towards the theater. And then we go to black. Again, my nitpicks aside, this is a brilliant episode. They nailed this. Seeing Pedro one last time, give that whole porch sequence for both of them, but for Pedro, give that man an Emmy because my lord, fathers out there, we probably all started bawling at the exact same time, like, oh shit, what won't we do for our kids? Brilliant, brilliant episode. My only complaint, is what I brought up a little bit earlier, is that we have a lot of stuff to catch up on to get to the season finale. I think I have a pretty good idea of where they're planning to end the episode or end the series or end the season. There's a lot to do before we get to that point. And so I'm excited to see that. They've done a good job of keeping the Roadrunner or the Coyote, if you will, Abby off the board, and I think we're going to get her back again at the very very end here. I just don't know how they sort of stick the landing before we then have to take a long break before we get back to season 3 again. But what did you guys think about the 6th episode of Last of Us season 2 called The Price? It's a doozy. You want to leave your thoughts and comments in the comments below. If you haven't already, you can follow us on X at HollywoodADI. You can hit us up on email at HollywoodAlreadyDidIt@gmail.com. We also have a podcast with the same name. That's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere that plays podcasts. We're there. And like always, I got my ticket. You got yours.